This is Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net with Astro-Insight for the week of July 13th, 2020. Have you ever installed a new operating system on a computer? I have an acquaintance who does this for a living, and he very frequently posts on social media photos of the message on the screen about please wait installing new system and tagging how long he's been waiting, and sometimes it's like 11 hours or more. The process can take an amount of time that you absolutely cannot predict, frequently requires much more time than you think it will, and often there are complications, and there are existing installations of software programs that won't work anymore. You have to go back and uninstall them. It's just a lot that needs to happen, and a human basically has no control over the timing. Now, why am I going on about this? Well, yes, of course. We are metaphorically in the middle of such a process. This week, the two big aspects, and there are only two big aspects, have us staring down Jupiter and Pluto, which have finished their second of three conjunctions in the late degrees of Capricorn. Jupiter and Pluto, since the end of March, have been amplifying, enhancing, increasing, deepening, intensifying vast, systemic, structural collapse and change and reworking that is happening for each of us individually and also very obviously collectively for the world, for specific nations. We're getting a new perspective on a lot of things that have been not working. A new perspective, or a protracted look at, maybe is a better way of putting it, a protracted look at how things are shifting in our own lives, a protracted look at the metamorphosis going on in our own foundations, all of the things we have learned since the notion of shutdown really locked into place in March. How has your life slowed down? How have your priorities changed? How has your schedule, your habits, your attitude towards what is most important to you? And recently, has it felt really heavy? Because if it has, you haven't been alone. The Sun opposing Jupiter and Pluto this week brings the inescapable realization that we're not in a blip. We're in something that is changing for the long haul. Since Jupiter is involved, there is always the possibility of a silver lining. It isn't all a trek through hell, even if it feels that way now and again. Or maybe more frequently than now and again. So this is a week for good, hard looks and for assimilating. What does all of this mean for you personally? What's the impact on your own body, schedule, foundation? Where is your anchor? Are you putting it more in yourself? What are you taking responsibility for? Saturn is now back in Capricorn, and he's hanging out with Jupiter and Pluto, even if he's not making an exact conjunction right now. Saturn is, as I've called him, the party pooper of the zodiac. He's the planet of adulting. How are you being called to be responsible, to take responsibility for fill in the blank? Mercury is also in the picture this week. He stations direct on the 12th at 5 degrees of Cancer, and it takes him until towards the weekend before he actually begins to move. And it may be really not for a few days after that that things feel like they are getting somewhere. Mercury has been retrograde since the week before the June solstice. So for 3.5 weeks, look for an element of emotional processing in everything that's going on now in your observation from your lookout tower as you're sitting watching the computer update, which is going to take longer to install than you think. What emotional awarenesses are coming to you? What avenues for emotional expression are coming to you? How are you understanding your own emotional experience now, particularly in light of what has happened in the past few weeks? How are you communicating and expressing that now? And how does that expression tie into your revised experience of your own foundation? I'll throw into this that on a personal level, I have been noticing, witnessing, been told about engagements and marriages by moon children in my life, one of whom has his 30th birthday during this week. So some of it is building toward the future. It's not all dismantling. What is building toward the future? What is updating in a positive way? What programs do you think you might need to go back in and uninstall and install a new version of? Yeah, sorry for the lapse in grammar. It happens sometimes. Homing thought of the week. Let me look at the big picture. Song of the week, I have two. They're both old, one much older than the other. Overs by Simon and Garfunkel from the album Bookends. And this is, to my thinking, the most perfect song of the week I have ever come up with. Every single line fits. So go find it. And the other one is Wind of Change by Scorpions, which is about the Eastern Bloc falling. And the image of the week is inspecting a construction site with a punch list, seeing what items have been completed, which ones are still to be done, and which ones need to be corrected. You'll learn more about all this in my forecast for the month of July, which is up at my site, empowermentunlimited.net, where you can sign up for my mailing list and book a session with me. I'm Kathy Beal, a professional astrologer of more than 30 years experience. You'll find lots of bonus content at patreon.com/Kathy Beal, and I am really grateful to the people who have been keeping my work going by supporting me there. There is lively content on Facebook at Empowerment Unlimited and the group the Astro-Insight Lounge. And please understand that if you request admission in the group, you will be required to say how you found it and agree to group rules, or your request will not be acted on. I post whatever I feel like on Instagram at @KABeal, and you'll find me on YouTube at The Professional Aquarian Channel. Talk to you next week.